Hello students, in last video we have learnt about the process of meiosis in detail, okay, and we have completed the whole process of meiosis, and today we will learn the significance of meiosis first, and then we will start a new chapter which is chapter number 9 and its name is biomolecule. Okay, so today we will learn the introduction of chapter 9, that is biomolecule, and we will learn the topic of significance of meiosis. Okay, so let's learn the significance of meiosis or importance of meiosis. Okay, so meiosis develops variation in populations. Okay, what are variations? See, no two organisms are alike. No two organisms are alike. In fact, two siblings are not alike. Two twins are also not alike. They are different from each other in one or another way. Okay, so no two organisms are same. No two organisms are alike. We are different from each other. So we can say that variations exist among us. Variations exist among us. And these variations exist because of the meiosis. Okay, because of the meiosis, variations exist among the people, variations exist among the organisms of the population. So variation is developed because of the meiosis. So this is the importance of the meiosis. Okay, we are different from each other, and we are different because of the meiosis. Okay, because in packeting stage, the non-sister chromatids of the homologous chromosomes exchange their part, and this packeting process leads to variation among individuals. Okay, so packeting stage is responsible for variation between the individuals. Packeting stage is responsible for variation between the organisms. Okay, so packeting stage is very much important, and meiosis maintains chromosome number over the successive generation. Meiosis maintains chromosome number over successive generation. Say for example, father and mother is there, which are having and they are having 46 number of chromosome. They are having 46 number of chromosome. But their gametes, sperm and ovum, will have 23 number of chromosome. Okay, father will have 46 chromosome in his body. Mother will have 46 chromosome in her body. But their gametes, which are known as sperm and ovum, will have 23 number of chromosome. Okay, so gametes have half number of chromosome. Okay, and when these gametes fuse, it will again form 46 number of chromosome in zygote. Okay, so in this manner, the successive generation or the coming generation will have same number of chromosome as were present in the parental generation. Okay, the successive generation will have same number of chromosome as were present in the parental generation. So we can say that meiosis helps in maintaining chromosome number over successive generation. Okay, so each generation has same number of chromosome which were present in the parental generation. Okay, so it maintains chromosome number over successive generation. And third importance of meiosis is it helps in evolution of the species. We evolve because of the meiosis. Okay, if meiosis would not have been there, we would not have evolved. Okay, so our evolution occurs because of the meiosis. Our evolution occurs because of the meiosis. Okay, so it helps in the evolution of the species. So this is the significance of the meiosis. Only 3 points are there. Meiosis helps in the development of variation in population. It maintains chromosome number over successive generation, and third, it helps in evolution of the species. Okay, so this is all about significance of meiosis. Only 3 points are there. Okay, so in this manner we are completing chapter 10, and now we are going to start new chapter 9 called biomolecules. Okay, and we will learn its introduction first. So when we see huge biodiversity around us, so many types of organisms are there. So when we see huge biodiversity around us, a question may arise in our mind. That are all organisms made up of same elements and same compound? Are all organisms made up of same elements and same compound? That this question will arise in our mind when we see many different types of individuals or many different types of organisms around us. Okay, because large biodiversity is there around us, and when we see this large biodiversity, a question may arise in our mind that whether all organisms are made up of same elements and compound or not. Okay, so when we see a huge biodiversity around us, a question may arise in our mind that are all organisms made up of same elements and compounds or not? Okay, and to get the answer of this question, we have to perform chemical analysis to get the answer of this question, that whether all organisms are made up of same elements and compounds or not. To get the answer of this question, that whether all organisms are made up of same elements and compound or not, to get the answer of this question, we have to do what? We have to do chemical analysis. Okay, and we will perform chemical analysis on living tissue also, and we will perform chemical analysis on the non-living things also. Okay, because we want to get the answer that whether all organisms are made up of same elements and compounds or not. For that we have to do chemical analysis, and we will not limit our chemical analysis up to living things only, but we will perform chemical analysis on the non-living things also. Okay, so we have to do chemical analysis of the living things as well as non-living things. Okay, in living things we will consider living tissue. Okay, we will take living tissue, and then in non-living things we will take sample of earth crust. We will take sample of the earth crust. Okay, so we will perform chemical analysis on living tissue, and we will perform chemical analysis of the earth crust. Why? To get the answer whether all organisms are made up of same elements and compounds or not. Okay, to get answer of this question, we will perform chemical analysis, and we will perform chemical analysis on living things also as well as on non-living things also. In living things we will take living tissue, and in non-living things we will consider earth crust. So we will take sample of the earth crust. Okay, and when we do this chemical analysis, then we come to the conclusion that same elements are present in living as well as non-living things. Okay, when we perform chemical analysis on living tissue as well as non-living things, we come to conclusion that all organisms, all living and non-living things, are made up of same elements. Okay, this type of conclusion is derived when we perform chemical analysis on earth crust as well as living tissue. Okay, when we perform chemical analysis on the earth crust and living tissue, then we will derive a conclusion that living things and non-living things are made up of same elements. Okay, so there will be list of same element which is present in both living things as well as non-living things. But so what is difference between non-living and living? The difference is about the concentration of the element. Okay, difference lies in the concentration of the element. Okay, but their concentration is different between living and non-living things. Okay, so when we perform chemical analysis of the living and non-living tissue, then it says that the same elements are present in living and non-living things, but their concentration is different. Their concentration will be different. Here a table is given to compare the concentration of elements between living things and non-living things. Okay, the list of the element will be same. Okay, list of the element will be same. These elements are present in the living things also, and these elements are present in the non-living things also, but their concentration will vary. Their concentration will be different. It will vary. Say for example, hydrogen, carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, sulfur, sodium, calcium, magnesium and silicon are present in living things also, and they are present in non-living things also. But if we consider the percentage weight of hydrogen in human being, then it will be 0.14%. Okay, and in earth crust it is around 0.5%. Okay, so hydrogen concentration is high in human being and low in earth crust. Hydrogen concentration is high in human being and it is low in earth crust. Then we talk about carbon. Okay, so carbon is present in 0.03%. Okay, here we have to consider earth crust. Here we have to write earth crust, and here we have to write human being. Okay, I have made a mistake. Here we have to write earth crust, and here we have to write human being. So please make a small change here. Please make a small change over here. So hydrogen concentration in earth crust is 0.14%, and in human body it is 0.5%. Okay, hydrogen concentration in earth crust is 0.14%, but in case of human being it is 0.5%. Carbon concentration in earth crust is 0.03%, but in case of human being it is 18.5%. Oxygen concentration is 46.6%, but in human body it is 65%. So we can say that hydrogen, carbon and oxygen are more in human being but less in earth crust. Okay, concentration of hydrogen, carbon and oxygen is high in the human being's body and it is less in the earth crust. Okay, so concentration of hydrogen, oxygen and carbon is high in the human body and less in the earth crust. Then we'll talk about nitrogen. Nitrogen is very little in earth crust and it is 3.3% in human being. Sulfur is 0.03% in earth crust and 0.3% in human being. Okay, sure. Then sodium is 2.8% in earth crust and 0.2% in human being. Then sodium 2.8% in earth crust and 0.2% in human being. Calcium 3.6% in earth crust and 1.5% in human being. Magnesium 2.1% in earth crust and 0.1% in human being. Magnesium 0.1% in human being. Okay, and silicon is 27.7% in earth crust and it is negligible in human beings. So in this manner the list will be same. Okay, all list of the element will be same but its concentration will vary. Okay, so we can derive the conclusion that all organisms are made up of same elements but their concentration will vary in different organisms, and its concentration will vary between living things as well as non-living things also. Okay, in living things concentration of carbon, hydrogen and oxygen is very high. In living things concentration of carbon, hydrogen and oxygen is very high, and in non-living things it is low. Okay, so we have seen the introduction of the chapter 9 biomolecule. What we have said? We have said that when we see huge biodiversity around us, then a question may arise in our mind that whether all organisms are made up of same elements and compounds or not. Okay, and to get answer of this question we have to perform chemical analysis, and we will perform chemical analysis of the living things also as well as non-living things also. Okay, and when we perform the chemical analysis of living and non-living things, we come to the conclusion that the list of the element between living and non-living thing is same, but the concentration of the element between living and non-living is different. Okay, say for example that in earth crust hydrogen is 0.14 and it is 0.5% in human being. Carbon is 0.03 in earth crust and 18.5 in human being. Oxygen is 46.6 in earth crust and 65% in human being. Nitrogen is little in earth crust and 3.3% in human being. Sulfur is 0.03% in earth crust and 0.3% in human being. Sodium 2.8% in earth crust and 2.2% in human being. Calcium is 3.6% in earth crust and 1.5% in human being. Magnesium is 2.1% in earth crust and 0.1% in human being. And silicon is 27.7% in earth crust and it is negligible in human being. In this manner we can compare the list of elements between non-living things and living things. Okay, so this is all about introduction of the chapter 9. In the next video we will talk about chemical analysis of the tissue. We will talk about chemical analysis of the tissue and how can we get the organic compounds and how can we get inorganic compounds. We will talk about that in the next video. Okay, so today we have seen the introduction of chapter 9 and we have seen the significance of the meiosis. Okay, sure, bye bye.